So, a friend of mine, he told me he has seasonal depression. And that got me curious, right? Because I think my recent desire to reconnect and reconcile with family has a lot to do with the time of year right now. Christmas, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. And so I think a lot of this concept of family is based on Hollywood shows and movies that I've seen, making it warmer. Growing up, my whole life, the movies where the families are like loving and caring for each other, not shitty and horrible like my family is, unsupportive and uncaring, instead making things harder and worse for me. And so what I want is a fantasy that conflicts with reality. I want the Hollywood family, where things are good. So I began to remember, all these memories came up as to why I ran away when I was 18, and ran away a lot before that, but I always ended up coming home because the police would take me home and stuff like that. But I remember the last Christmas I spent with my family before I electrocuted myself. The last Christmas I had both hands and all of my feet. um, I had gotten back from Port Angeles, Washington State, and I was living a really good life as a bum up there. Like, I was just bumming around, and even being a bum up there was better than my life in New Mexico. Even as a psychotic, like, weed smoking schizophrenic, with the weed setting off my schizophrenia, I was still living a higher quality of life, better quality of life in Washington State than I was in New Mexico. Healthier. And I think it's because there's so much money up there, because there's so much resources up there, so just a higher level of income, higher economy. Even the bums are better off. But I got back, and I went to stay with my mom and my brother. My mom had a mobile home, a trailer, a single wide, but, 3 rooms. And my brother, the gang member, was still living with her at 28 years old, 29. And he had been up for 11 days on meth. And, we were like smoking weed together and stuff. And the neighbors in the next door trailer had ordered a pizza delivery. At that time, I had quit smoking meth, but my brother wasn't one to support my sobriety and abstinence from drugs. He'd push them on me if I tried to quit. And so the neighbors ordered some pizza. I remember hearing my brother's butane torch, from his room. So, yeah. It was that, and alone was like a knife stabbing into my head, a painful thing, just to hear him smoking that meth behind his door. Inside the house where we were breathing in the smoke. He probably was like, oh, I'm near the window. Fucking druggies, right? But, neighbors ordered a pizza, and the price of the pizza was like $18 and some change for the delivery. My brother was a Westgator, and he had a rival gang, 18th Street. So he heard the number 18, and he started going, 18? 18? And he started getting angry and violent because he'd been fucking tweaking without sleeping for 11 days straight. So he ended up throwing like his beer bottle through the window of the delivery car. They called the police. The police showed up. They ended up not arresting him. Fucking liberal Albuquerque, right? And I knew I had to take action. At the time, I was like the organic hippie, so I got some arnica. They market these muscle relaxer arnica in Montana because it grows in Montana. And my brother would smoke meth, but he wouldn't drink tap water. He only drank bottled water. So I got one of his water bottles when he was out of his room, And I dissolved, like 4 or 5 of those pills. I didn't even know if it was dangerous or not. I was like, fuck it, man. I'm going to ignore the warning here. This motherfucker needs to sleep. He needs to chill the fuck out. And I waited. Put the lid back on. He's tweaking. He's up for 11 days. He's not going to notice the seal's broken. And he didn't. So he ended up finally getting to the water bottle that I fucking drugged. And he fell asleep for 3 days straight, only getting up to piss. I know, because my room was right next to his, and those walls are paper thin. But, yeah. That is like a common experience with my household growing up. Just horrific, traumatic, fucking awful. My mom, Christmases were painful. She would beat the shit out of us, fucking screech at us, because my mom's a little mentally ill herself. She wouldn't admit it, but the family history comes from her mother, so I'm pretty sure she's a little psychotic. Not to insult her or anything, of course, but, it's the only explanation for why she was so awful and violent. Anyway. So, this was a common thing in the household I grew up in, so every Christmas, I feel like this emotional pain of being disconnected from my family. Like, I want a mother, but I don't want a mother that beats me and then cries for hours on end because she's nuts, like I am. I want a loving mother who cares for me and supports me. And, like, instead of throwing my future away, would have gotten me into private school when I had the opportunity for those grants. I want a brother who isn't on drugs and would actually quit drugs with me just to support me. No human being in my life ever has done that for me. No one person has been like, Gabe's quitting drugs and alcohol. I'm going to quit these things too, just to help him, just to be with him, just to be supportive and loyal. Everyone in this whole fucking country always picks drugs and alcohol over me. Over their own family members and friends and loved ones. So, I'd love a father who was a real father and actually, like, was supportive and strong and, not one who would sell my inheritance because his new white wife wanted a new house. And all these memories keep emerging, like my dad telling me how my being born ruined his life, how he could have made it to Michigan and we made more money, but he stayed in Albuquerque because of me. So if it wasn't for me, he would have fucking been, like, rich and successful, or at least more successful than fucking broke. Right? Like, and so that's what I want. That's what my longing is, my desire is for, like, actual emotional bonds, familial bonds, relationships, permanence and attachment, but not to shitty people like that. Not to fucking, scumbag, junkie brother. And he finally quit meth. I don't know if he still has, but he did a while ago. My mom won't even speak to me anymore, which has been for the better. Like, I'm in university now and still sober, so as much as she can get mad and talk shit, the results speak for themselves, which is painful in itself. I'd rather my mom, like, be in my life, and that would be a helpful thing, not a hurtful thing, not a damaging thing, not going against my success, but pushing me towards it. And same with my brother, my father, etc. The extended family, they don't really count. I think a lot of them saw what was going on, saw how I was fucked by, like, my mom just being like, oh, well, his older brother is gonna fuck his life up, who gives a shit? And they were just like, well, that's not my business, those aren't my kids, I'm not going to parent, my sister's kids. I'm sure my aunt thought that, my uncle thought that. Those are Liz's kids, she can take care of them on her own, I'm not going to intervene. And the lack of intervention led to, I was born with two hands, and this was the result of their approach, their actions. I say that because my actions, I do attribute some causality to myself, but with my gene mutation, the schizophrenia, and my brother pushing marijuana on me when I was 10 years old, which activates and exacerbates schizophrenia, which like a timeline analysis tells me, that was the turning point in my life that went from straight A's, chess club, science club, to homeless and on drugs most of my life. That was like, and that was when they told me that I had scored gifted and was eligible for grants into private school, which could have led to me breaking the glass ceiling and rising to a higher income level. This wasn't white people who did this. This was fucking Hispanics. This was my own family. My own race did this to me. Impress ourselves, I guess. But so every Christmas, you know, because of all these movies and corporate Christmas stuff, I long for real humans in my life that are caring and supportive, and I've never known any of that ever once in my whole life. Anyone from my past, right? Not in my life anymore because they don't fucking give a shit. Don't fucking care about me at all. They claim to, they might have like expressed a little fake concern, but here I am alone again, and I've been abandoned by people who claim to have cared about me so many times that I'm comfortable in my isolation. I've grown comfortable with abandonment. It's familiar to me. It's more home to me than, mom's house or dad's house. I don't even know where those places are. I don't. They've moved and I don't know where the fuck they live. And that's the weird thing, is it bothers me only when we get to holidays that are like time spent with family, Like, I'd love a Christmas, to wake up on Christmas and like have a Christmas tree and, cousins and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and all of that. I'll never have that. The closest I get is this church with these Christians, and they're a little flawed too, but they're more than government or family or society as far as like mental and emotional support, giving me food. They made sure I had toilet paper and food during the whole quarantine. They were the only ones who did that. They drove to my house. They got me this RV. They got me property to stay on. Like, they care more about me than my own family does. And that really means a lot to me. And it's fucked up, man. Why should some complete strangers care more for me than government, society, or family? Because they're Christians. There's all these fucking Joe Biden supporters, all these liberal leftists who are always fucking claiming to represent, what's the word they use for us? Disenfranchised ethnic minorities who are victims of wealth inequality and all that bullshit, right? They couldn't give two fucks about me. I was a liberal for years. They're just fucking backstabbing, scumbag, lying pieces of shit. But conservatives are fucking cowards, man. Fucking dickless, dude. Conservatives are weak. So, like, right or left has its own shit. Conservative is, like, the right is better than the left, but marginally so. Watching all those politicians, man. Watching America go, like, I think that's a big product of my life, is the decline of Christianity in America. The drug and sex revolution and all these evil, like, scumbag leftist forces that target Christianity, leading to the decline in Christianity, leading to the decline in the American family, the rise of drugs and incarceration, and, sex without consequences, a hypersexualized society, things like that. The destruction of the nuclear family. We're, like, that's self-destructive, the whole liberal thing. And I know because I've experienced it from childhood, right? Like, drugs, sex, all that stuff. What's wrong with wanting to be monogamous and be a father and a husband and a good man, right? Why does that seem to be something society hates and fights, pushes me away from, you know? Like, oh no, you can't be those things unless you fit into this mold, and, you know, you fucking, like, have, like, 30 other sex partners before you're married and all this shit, yeah. So this is interesting because I spent a lot of time eliminating emotional response. And now that I'm experiencing emotion, it's telling me that I need to go back to the exercises that, you know, reduce and eliminate emotional response. Because this is not the first Christmas that I've spent without my family. And the last one wasn't so painful. Maybe it's doing art, maybe it's, you know, moving the RV, but I haven't been spending time doing my brain exercises that, you know, target my mental health. So maybe I can become like a psychopath and just not feel a thing. Very good tool and mechanism, survival mechanism, that sort of thing. But then I start thinking long term, and it's like, that means I need to go somewhere where I can start a new family. I'm just wasting time being alone for the last 10 years, or however long it's been. Yeah, 10 years, something like that. Since I had the ex-fiance who got me to drink alcohol after my 13 months of sobriety, and fucked my best friend, stole my money. Even though she told me she loved me, she was lying. She never gave a shit about me to begin with. She just wanted to fuck. But that seems to be the big liberal thing, is they're trying to destroy society everywhere, so there's nowhere I can go to find good people. They're trying to just corrupt and morally degrade society. It seems that that's a big thing in America. You either settle for less or you don't get any at all. Settle for shitty women or no pussy for you. Settle for shitty backstabbing friends or no friends for you. I stopped settling. I raised my standards. It's had great results in my life. It's improved my life greatly, but it's also left me alone and isolated. And instead of America going up towards a direction where that sort of thing is more mainstream, more accepted in society, you know, loyalty, things like that, it's being pushed down the opposite direction. So we're all separated. We're all separated from family. We're all separated from friends. We have no more strong bonds, emotional ties, and things like that. And dark forces, or whatever you want to call it, people are profiting off that. People like fucking Cardi B with their wet ass pussy music and that gross shit, that's pushing this whole like hoard out, degenerate, fucking anti-monogamous America, this hypersexualized, you know, destructive society. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. It's crazy. Anyhow, I'm rambling on too long. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. As soon as I'm done with all this moving in and resettled, I'm going to start doing my exercises again. And that'll hopefully be like last Christmas, where even though I was alone, I ended up getting picked up by the church and stuff, and actually got to like spend some time with humans, you know, which was nice. But I don't want to feel any pain because my family intentionally hurts me. That's what they want. That's why they hurt me. They cause me pain. So reducing my emotional reaction means they don't get their reward. They don't get the pain they were trying to cause me. Just like Trump in the election, right? There's probably so many people butthurt right now, and I'm fucking laughing. You can choose how to react emotionally once you gain control over your responses, voluntary or involuntary. But this whole family thing seems to be much more deep-seated than that. I think it's because it's years instead of, 30 4 years, it's like a 38 year my whole life down to childhood type of thing. I wonder if there is any place left in the world that I could just show up, build bonds with people, and not have to fight this degeneracy. It's fucking horrible.